Hello, welcome to Board Deck and Dice. Today we're having a look at the fantastical Imaginarium. Let's go see an overview of how it plays and then we will talk about how good it is or isn't. Imaginarium is set in a fantastical factory of weirdness. From within these halls you will select and repair machines and then you can combine these machines. Here a charcoalium machine is combined with another charcoalium machine, meaning it produces 3 charcoalium instead of just 1. Here you can combine a producing machine with a transforming machine, meaning you don't have to feed anything into it to get the crystal. You can also run your machine at the start of your go, which gets you the resources shown. Remember, you don't have to put anything into the purple machine if it has a blue producing machine below it. Then you will be selecting actions from your action board. You can select 2, but you can't do the same 2 in 2 goes in a turn. This lets you combine and recombine your machines. This lets you hire an assistant. This simply gets you 3 charcoalium. This lets you repair a machine. Then you can trade goods and you can dismantle a machine for resources. There are many ways to score points, but the project cards are certainly the best way. The first player to do so gets a point bonus, and when someone reaches 20 points, they declare the last round. The winner is the one with the most points. Imaginarium is a great looking game, and there's so much to love instantly as soon as you open the box, from the weird and wacky miniatures to the long box that contains all the resources you need. This speaks of a high quality production. The artwork is fantastic and it just screams out at you. And then you play your first game and there's a number of concepts that you need to get your head round. The biggest of which is the machines and how to combine them. Machines are clearly labelled with which they combine with, but the ways this work can be a bit confusing, especially for first-time players. The best advice I can give here is look at the back of the player screens. It says you can combine 3 identical machines, 2 identical ones, or 2 different ones, and explains the different variations. If ever in doubt, it has the numbers of the machines that you can combine on the actual cards. The other tricky bit is when you combine a transforming machine, the purple ones, with a production machine, a blue one. So you can combine transforming machines with themselves and you will earn the extra resources. So if you have one that transfers 1 cube into 3 charcoalium and it's got that little 3 in the circle and underneath there's a 5, to get that 5 you need to combine it with the same machine, and then 1 cube will turn into 5 charcoalium. But if you can instead combine it with a blue producing machine, you will never get that 5. But what you will get is you will not have to put the cube in, because essentially the producing machine under the transforming machine produces that cube for you automatically, and then you just take the resource as though the blue-purple was just a production machine for the last resource that is labelled on it. So it's quite confusing, but once you get your head around that, you start to wonder about the possibilities. And this is a game of great possibilities. However, there's a number of limitations on those possibilities. The first is that you only ever have 4 machine slots unless you get the helper, which extends you to 6, which we'll talk about later, but is very cheap. And so once you've got 3 machines in, if you build another one, you're going to have to destroy a machine or combine a machine to create space for a new machine. So you're creating your engine looking at the goals that are at the top, because that is the best way of scoring. And you'll want to try and aim to get as many of those with your first kind of machine as you can, and then not have to change too much to collect a few more points. Or build a machine that just churns out charcoalium and keep exchanging it for victory points on the exchange action. The other thing that limits you is the action wheel itself, because you can only ever use the 2 actions that the wheels are pointing to, and you can't use the same 2 actions twice in a row. You can repeat 1, but you can't use 2. So this means you really have to plan ahead, and often in this game you will find yourself taking more goes than is optimally efficient to achieve your purposes. And that's a really nice, those 2 things create for a really nice puzzle. Rather than frustrating you, it's something to work out and to really kind of solve and work out your route through. You're limited a little bit as well by the placement of the other players, and if you place your worker It's sort of worker placement, but it's more selecting your cards. If you place them towards the cheaper end of the machines or near the charcoalium, then you will take the last turn or one of the last turns on the next go, whereas if you buy a more expensive machine, you will take one of the first goes. So that's worth bearing in mind. Also, what's worth bearing in mind is you always run your machines before you purchase. So you can often afford more expensive cards than you realise. You're just not going to have that charcoalium for later on in the round. One of the actions, again, that on first play baffled me was the destroy machines. So you can dismantle your machines, either your non-repaired ones at the side, and you just get a limited amount of resources back for them, or your repaired ones. And if you dismantle a repaired machine, you get double the resources shown on it, on how to build it, or you can take victory points equal to the level of the machine. And this becomes a real strategy mid-game, because, or even at the start, if you can build one quite quickly that has lots of resources down the side and then recycle it because you didn't want it really anyway, that's a really big resource influx, so you can then do more things. And of course, my problem with engine building games is once I've built something, I don't want to destroy it. But Imaginarium is a game that rewards you for that, and rewards you quite well. It can be even worth picking up a cheap level 2 card just to get 2 resources when you dismantle it and then use them for something else. The staff that you can hire, the assistants that you hire, again, wonderfully created and wonderfully creative. This is probably my biggest downside, apart from the difficulty of grasping some of the concepts, is that I feel like some of these are a bit overpowered, not in the terms of what power they give you, but in terms of how that is costed. So you'll pay charcoalium for these, but the one that gives you 2 extra factory spaces is only 4, and there's another one that's kind of equally good, which is 9. Now, I will always try and snap up that extra factory space because it just lets you relax a little bit about having to sacrifice other machines, and you can build more. You could just build a load of level 1s to just sweep through and use them. So that seems more useful than the price that is put on it. I think that's a really cheap price. Victory points are hard to come by. You can trade for them, you can set up a machine, and if someone buys the machine that produces victory points, you need to keep an eye on that person. But the best way is to go for those projects, and you can knock off a number of projects in one go. In one game I got 10 of the 20 required points just from completing 2 projects, and then I think I traded for some more. So I was able to really rush the end of the game, which is really good, and it means there isn't really a runaway leader problem, because that is available to everyone. You really do have to look at what the other players are doing and try and keep mental tabs of how many victory points you think they have, which in a game with so few victory points is easier than it sounds. I haven't played this at 5 players. I think it'd be very cramped and very tight on the board and harder to do what you want, not necessarily a bad thing. And I haven't yet tried the 2-player variant, where each player gets a blocker, basically, a henchman or some sort, which can block another space to frustrate the other person. But at 3 and 4 it works really well. There can be a little bit of downtime, especially in that first game, as people grok the machines and how to combine them. But because of that, something's just gone off, because of that, you can spend your time looking and working out what you want to do. Because you've placed on the machine you're buying at the start of the go, unless you're first, you should pretty much know for sure what you want to do by your go. Yeah, it can be a little bit wrecked by someone else's action if they hire the worker that you want, or they take the project first, so they get 1 more point if they take it first. But all in all, I've been really impressed with Imaginarium. It's a very tactical game. You can strategize at the start, but then you have to react to what's happening. There's more interaction than you would think, and it's just a pleasure to play. The first game I wasn't sure. I came away and I said, oh, kind of really like the engine building, but also there's something, and then I couldn't stop thinking about it. And my next game, I got my engine going and did exactly what I wanted and didn't win, whereas I won in the first game. So it's one of those things. But Yeah, it's really competitive, and once everyone's grasped it, I think probably if someone's played before and they're playing a newbie, they've definitely got the advantage, and you should definitely tell them to focus on the projects, try and achieve the projects to be competitive, and then they will start to find their own way through it. So, Imaginarium, complexity. Yeah, there is some complexity here. Those machines, even though when I read about them combining machines, it seemed pretty straightforward, and maybe the rule book has a little bit to do with this, but those machines are not as easy or as straightforward as they could be, potentially. So there is a little bit of complexity here. The rule book itself is mostly good, apart from that machine bit, but that is much better on the back of the player screen, so check them out. Fun, I have a lot of fun with this. Even the downtime, which has got better as the games have gone on and I've played with more people who are more familiar with it, has not put me off this game, because just the joy of building and dismantling machines and choosing the right time to do the various actions is just fantastic. Am I going to keep this game? Yes, I am. So therefore, it's a question. It's a yes answer to all the other questions. I would recommend it to fans of engine building, and I would say persevere through that first game, or have someone really explain to you. Maybe do an example turn of how you combine those machines, and I will, recommend it to people. It is available in certain countries now, and there is a Kickstarter running. Although, you know, they have said the reasons why the Kickstarter is running to get it into wider distribution. So if you're in a country where you can't get it by retail, then there is that to check out. So Imaginarium, I think, is a really fun, fantastic game, especially if you like engine building and resource management, and something that looks a bit different on the board and just feels a little bit different through that. Thanks very much for watching Board, Deck and Dice and Zatu, and we will see you next time. I think I forgot to say this is with Zatu at the start, but you'll see the things come in. Zatu. It will be animated. Bye!